Hey everybody! So we're going to make a video talking about some of the changes I've been making with Sylos and going over some of the, basically just how it works now. So it's pretty exciting stuff. So the first thing is we have this sidebar. This has already been a thing, but I want you to notice that I created a button to have you actually log in. So there's a sign out button here. So let's go ahead and sign out so I can show you that. So it's going to ask you for your username and password, but if you've never done this before, it's actually going to prompt you to create an account first. So you'll create an account, it'll be an admin account, you'll sign in, you'll do whatever, and then eventually it's going to prompt you to create a recovery code as well. So we'll show you that and how that works. But anyway, so basically once you sign in, you're going to see this page like we just showed. And if you want to add another user, you can just go here and click add user, and you can set them to be a user or an admin or whatever. Admin is not much different from normal user roles, except for the fact that with a user you cannot add any more users or edit any users or anything like that. And for the cloud providers that we support, you can only see their status and you can test their connection to make sure that they are still healthy, like this one shows. But you can't actually edit it, so this button edit here wouldn't be available, as well as you can't change the scan interval, so there's things you can't do. Other things like danger zone here is another setting that I added. This will remove all your past migration history for everyone, for the entire account. So this is more of like a developer kind of thing, more than what I think most people would want to do, but it's still a good option to leave kind of on the front end for everyone to access, because or like for the general user base, not for everyone on your account to access, but for all the admins to have this access, because you might want to do like some kind of clean slate or something to just kind of wipe out everything that you've done before. But anyway, then there's the developer settings, of course, and then I also moved the tips over into the appearance section, although it is a little cluttered, so I might like have a little drop down to like expand this so that you don't have to see all of this, and I might break some of these down into categories or something at some point, but whatever. Anyway, there's also a light mode. I'm not going to switch to it because I don't want to like flashbang you guys, or maybe I'll just give you a countdown and I'll show you an example of it. But so there's light mode. So let me show you what dark mode looks like real quick. So if you go here and we start a migration, you can see it's going to prompt you to start a new migration from scratch, or you can resume where you left off. Here's an example of what that looks like. So here I'm going to resume where I left off here, and that would just take me here anyways. Another one would be like if I wanted to review a migration that already completed, I can go here. If any items have failed, I could mark them again because they'll have this little icon right here. They would show up on this column, so I could click and mark them to be retried, and then there'd be a little button here that says like retry failed items, basically, and that's how that would work, and then it would take you back. But we're going to show you a whole migration from start to finish, so we'll get there. But let's go ahead. I want to show you the light mode super quick before I forget about that. So sorry, I was going to give you a countdown and I realized I didn't. My bad. So anyway, so if we go here, this is the light mode so far. I'm still a work in progress. If you go here, you can click start new migration, then it will show you kind of what this looks like. So that's basically what the light mode looks like. It's not anything super crazy, but yeah. The dark mode is the default though, so luckily when you open the app for the first time, you're not going to get flashbanged like I just showed you. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a migration here. So I want to move everything from, let's say, my Dropbox account currently to my local file system. So my destination is going to be my local file system, as you can see here. So we're selecting our source service for right now, so I'm going to go ahead and click that. I'm going to use my personal Dropbox account, not like a work Dropbox account. So that actually does matter because Dropbox treats these kinds of accounts differently, so you can't just click one or the other and then sign in with whatever account you have, because Dropbox is not going to understand your request. So let's go ahead and click personal here, and if you haven't set up a Dropbox app, I'm going to create documentation on how to do this. It's very, 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 very simple. Like literally anyone can do it. You don't have to be a developer to do it. But basically you would go to like, I don't know, developers.dropbox or something. Dropbox.com/developer/apps create or something like that. And then essentially you would just create an app here. So let's go to, whoops, that's not where I wanted to go. Maybe we can just go to developers. I'm trying to find the home page of this. Okay, so we'll take you here, and then you'll click on create apps, and then from there we'll create an app. So you're going to select all this, you're going to go through, and I'll give you a whole article on this. I'm not going to go through it right now, but basically you would just create your little app, and then, oh, well, basically you just create your little app, and then you just have to give it certain things. So you would have your little app key, you have your little app secret, and then you go over your redirect URI. And like I said, I'll post all of this in the article so that you don't have to like guess on anything. And then once you have that, you would put it in your settings here. So this would go into cloud providers, and you can see this is kind of what it would look like. So you would paste this into your redirect URI. So we're going to paste that there. Whoops. Apparently it didn't copy over properly. Then you're going to get your client ID from here, which looks like this. So I'll have to rename that field so that it matches on Dropbox. But basically you're going to get your client ID and your client secret, which is here, and you click show and copy it and paste it in there, and then you can save. And when you do that, you can test it, and it'll actually tell you if it's good or not. So that's basically the flow. It's super, super, super simple. It looks really crazy, but it's very simple, very easy to follow. So anyway, once you get your app set up for whatever connections you're going to end up using, you don't have to do all of them. You just need to do whatever ones you're going to end up using. So let's say I want to move from Dropbox to my local file system. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to click Dropbox. I'm going to click Personal, and I'm going to go ahead and sign into my Dropbox account. And I'm going to close this tab up here because I don't need it anymore. And so I'm going to click, it's basically saying like, hey, do you know this developer for the app that you just made? Like, do you know that developer? And of course you were the developer, quote unquote, so you know that person, you know this is safe, you know it's okay. So you're just going to click continue. And whenever you do this, like, it's your stuff. Everything is your stuff. You're not like giving access to me or whatever. Like, I don't have access to all of your data or anything like that. Like, it's all on your system, isolated completely like that. So anyway, let's go ahead and click allow, and that will show your different Dropbox things. You might have other things in this account, so you might need to select which one you want, but let's go ahead and select. I only have one here, and from here this will show you everything that's in your Dropbox account. This would be like if you opened up Dropbox for the first like right on the screen. So I'll show you just as an example. So here you can see, try Dropbox standard. No thanks. So here you can see if I go to all files, or maybe we can go to folders or something. What the hell is going on? All files. Dropbox UI is so weird. Look at all this. Anyway. But yeah, this is basically my top level. So I only have 4 folders in my root folder, so this is my top level stuff. Anyway, we're just going to select everything. So we're just going to select everything in Dropbox. I want to move everything in Dropbox off and over to my local file system. So I have 2 hard drives, 2 SSDs technically. So it's going to ask me which drive I want to put them on. You might have more options here. You might have less, maybe just one. Either way. So I'm going to do my main hard drive because I already have a folder prepared for this. It's in my home folder, and it's over in here called export from Dropbox. So I'm going to click here, and it says the folder is empty, and that's true. But if I did choose a different folder, you can see it actually does show other stuff. Like this is one that I went from Google. It's basically the exact same data because I ran a migration before to move all my data from Google Drive to Dropbox. All the stuff you see here is actually from Google Drive when I ran it from a different run. But anyway, let's go ahead and just finish this up here. So let's go ahead and select. So this is how it's going to work. So you just we're not actually moving anything just yet. We're just selecting where am I moving it from, where am I moving it to. That's it. If you want to change these, you can. You can edit and click and change any of them. Now the next step is it's just going to map everything. It's not actually going to move anything at all. It's just going to see what's in Dropbox and what's in your folder that you selected, and it'll just kind of go from there. So let's go ahead and do that. Gives you a big red stop button whenever it's running so that you can see what's in there. Obviously there was nothing in the destination, so there's nothing to really show here, but we can see the total number of items here that it found in Dropbox. And it was pretty quick because the speed of Dropbox traversal is pretty relatively fast. So yeah, it's pretty quick. But if I had like millions and millions of items in there, it would take a minute, you know. But you would see these numbers update. So anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and view the results of what it found in there. Remember, this is just what it found. It hasn't moved anything yet. So let's go ahead and click. Okay, so this will take you to this page, and I want to go ahead and show you some stuff on this page. So first of all, before we get into the whole table here, let's look at the bottom here. So this is a result of what it showed. So there was 9 folders, there's 39 files. I think the count might be slightly off here because I think it was an 8 and something on the previous page, but that's okay. It's a very minor little thing there. This size is actually accurate. I know that for a fact. This is showing you the result of the ratio between how many folders and files there are, just in case you were curious. This is the size of what's on your destination. At least it's only the size of what is overlapping, not the total size of your destination. So maybe you have other things in your destination folder that aren't on the source, but it doesn't care about that. It's not counting that stuff. So in that regard, it doesn't actually care in terms of the size. So that's why I put a little tooltip here to explain that in case you were curious as to why it's off, or like, no, there is stuff in here. Why is this 0? So that just helps explain it. But anyway. Okay, and then this is showing how many pending items are pending to be copied over. Remember, we haven't moved anything yet. And you can see here they have these little icons here, and this is the pending icon. And if you click on these tooltips, it'll tell you that you can actually mark them to be excluded. So what if I just don't want to move any of my like specific interview related stuff here? So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So actually I'm going to use the Cosmic Pop folder. That's what I'm going to do. So if we go here, it said, notice this change. So this was pending 45 excluded 2, because if I actually go here, I can look and see there actually is a folder inside of here, but there's nothing inside of this folder. It's basically just an empty folder. So it excluded not only this folder, but also the one inside of it. It's what's called a recursive action, meaning it goes inside, sort of like a nesting doll. It just keeps going in and excluding everything all at once. So it's extremely quick. It's extremely quick that it does that. So that's the tree view. You can click and navigate through the different folders and see like what's in here and stuff like that. So that's why I call it the tree view, because you can kind of navigate through the tree. And you can click here to list view, and this will just show like a flat list of everything in the entire system. And as you can see, it shows those 2 items here excluded. And there's some filters you can do here. So I can filter everything by, let's say I only want to see the excluded items, and it kind of tells you in parentheses like what the names mean in case it wasn't obvious. But I can see I only want to see the excluded items, and you can see it does the filter pretty much immediately. I can go back here and I can filter only by files, so I can just see how many files I have, and it'll actually show you the counts as you're doing this. So let's go back and do the excluded thing again. So I want to show you that. So see, it says 1 of 2. This is actually really useful if you want to get like big aggregations of things. Like what if I'm just curious like how many files are greater than 1 megabyte in size, and that will tell me right there, and you can see that. So this is just really fantastic stuff. So anyway, but we're gonna go ahead and clear all our filters. I don't really want to filter anything. You can also search, by the way, and it's extremely fast. I know it's not gonna seem that impressive right now because there's only like 50 things on this list, but I have done this. I know this is sort of like a trust me bro type thing, but I swear, I promise you, I have done this where I have traversed over 1 million items, and I can do a search and it'll just do it like instantly, like within, not like literally within like 100 milliseconds it'll give me the result. Whereas like Windows search, for example, would take several minutes to do the exact same search. So I don't know, I just find that really cool. Also, if you want to do like a mass selection and exclude a bunch of items, or maybe I just want to exclude everything, so I can go here and click to exclude everything. So basically I can click to exclude selected, and that will actually exclude everything on the whole page. And then I'm saying, okay, oops, I didn't really mean to do that, and I can unexclude everything. So it's really, really, really cool. and I love doing stuff like that. So anyways, okay, so let's go ahead and start our copy operation here. So remember, we haven't actually moved anything. We're just looking at what would be there in the final result. So let's go ahead and, oh, we did want to actually exclude those Cosmic Pop folders. So let's go ahead and do that so I can show you how that works. So we're going to go ahead and it's like, are you sure you want to start to copy these items? Yep. Okay. And then you can see the new progress page. It'll show you how many folders have moved, how many files have moved, the total, how much bytes have moved total, and the items per second. The bytes per second is still a little buggy right now, so it's just a minor thing I'm working on, but for the most part you can see that. And so we'll go ahead and click View Results. So we're going to click that. From there, you can see the results, and you can see that this item got excluded, like I said, and you can't actually look into it because there's nothing to look into because it's not there, so I can't go into that folder because it's not on the destination anyway. Some items might have existed prior to the move, so you might see some items that exist in destination only. So if I just like dropped a random file in there, like file.txt or something, it might show in this list in that regard. But anyway, we can see all these purple check marks right now. That means that they exist on both systems, the source and the destination. So that means that all these items with the purple check marks, which is basically everything, do in fact exist on the destination. And we can go check that if you want. That's actually in a local file system, which is here. So this was the file that I selected, or this was the folder I mean, and you can see all the items are here except for the Cosmic Pop one. But if we go and look at that other folder that I had where I did the export from Google Drive, you can see that I did actually bring it over. And just to help clear this up, so remember I moved everything from Dropbox over here except for the Cosmic Pop playlist. So if we go here, I can refresh and I can show you that I mean I didn't really have to refresh, but I can show you that that stuff is actually here. That folder is here. So it's on Dropbox, but it's not on my drive. Eventually, that's basically an overview. I don't want to spend too much longer going over all this, but basically, eventually I want to add more functionality here. So I want to add more functionality here, going over one thing that I want to work on is having a smart filter system where, just to help you visualize it, so let's say, for example, that I want to select, I don't know, everything actually. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's say I want to move everything over from my source and my destination. So before I end up actually starting the discovery, I imagine this page where you have like a little section right in between this gap here. And so this whole page would be a little bit bigger, but basically there would be like a set, like a add extra filters page, like a little section basically. So in that section, it would actually let you add extra filters so that you could say, you could add like little rules. So for example, you could say, I only want to move all the PDF files over, or all the docx files, or if you see an XLSX or some kind of spreadsheet file as the MIME type. Like if you see a spreadsheet file, then you have to make sure that it's last edited or last modified since like 2 weeks ago. Otherwise, I don't want to move it. And then I'm also going to add a section under that, under the filter section, that's like, make this recurring. So you can make the migration happen again and again and again. And then you can just run the API like in the background on your system, and then it will just schedule these migrations and it'll run for you automatically. There are also other things, I won't show it in this video because it's, you know, I don't want to spend forever, but you don't have to use the website if you don't want to. I'm working on a terminal UI so that you could do everything from the terminal, but that's going to come a little bit later. But eventually I'm going to do it where you don't need to be on the website in case you want to run this like a little bit more, like in case for your user workflow, if you want to be more terminal oriented. But for the majority of the audience, I imagine you would want to use the graphical user interface for it. For my developer people, I will be adding in more like hooks and things so that you can do automated scripting and stuff like that. So if you want to write a script that can automatically spin up Sylos and perform some kind of headless migration without the checks. Because if you notice, between every check, it like makes you stop and click the button to move on to the next step. But with a script, you don't want to have to do that because that kind of defeats the whole point of automation. So I'm going to add an option in the scripting, like in the API, where you can just click to move on to the next page, basically. So it's all going to be like automated, basically. I'm gonna create like an SDK so that you can just import the SDK and use it and go from there. But anyway, that's part of it. Some other changes I made, and I guess I'll wrap it up here. So one other change I made was in the database system for our databases. I encrypted the databases, and now when you run the API for the first time, it will actually create like an OS keyring encryption key that will serve as your master key. And all of these little migrations are in their own database, but the API itself has its own database. There's like one master database that has like all the listings of all the other migrations that you have and all your users and things like that. So that is encrypted. That database is encrypted with your OS keyring key. And once that database is unencrypted with the key, you can see the keys that will give you access to the other databases. So every time you start a migration like I just did, it's going to create its own database, and that database is going to have its own encryption key, and that's going to be stored in the main database. And what that allows you to do is it means that if you ever, for any reason, if you ever, let's say, just as an example here, so let's say someone hacks into your system. If they try to open up any of these database files that like do your migrations, they're not going to be able to do it. They will literally not be able to do it because the database files will be encrypted. And the only thing that can store that encryption, or the only thing that can get that encryption for the databases, is if you have the master key, which you would need to access, but only your user can access it. So anyway, I've been doing some security changes and things like that just to help harden this up a little bit more. So that was some things. But anyway, I don't want to go on forever and spend 2 hours talking about all this. I will show you real quick. We'll just kind of wrap up here. Actually, you know what? We're just going to do home and there. So I will show you that basically. So we're going to do a migration where it just shows you like my home folder and everything in there. Because I just want to show you how fast it is. So you can see we're already at like 20,000 items per second. Of course, we're traversing an SSD, but yeah, it's extremely fast. Like Sylos is extremely fast. And if you have access to the API logs, you can actually see what round it's on and things like that if you are more curious about it from a technical perspective. If you're interested in more of the technical details while we're waiting on that, I do have a blog article where I explain some of the technical information on the website itself. You can actually see there's a blog article here, and it will actually explain to you how I use DuckDB to make a task scaling system. But yeah, and then I made an article about Spectra, my local file testing harness, and things like that. So it's really interesting. But yeah, anyway, I think it'll take a while, so I'm just gonna cut it off here. It won't take that long. I mean, it probably like maybe 2 or 3 more minutes, but I don't want to, waste your guys' time while we just sit here and do nothing. So I'm just going to show you, for example, like if you were to stop the migration. Whoops, this little tooltip thing is wrong. I think I know what it's doing. I think it's because it's overlaying on top of that. It's a little tiny UI bug I got to work on, but anyway, yeah, if you click on stop migration, you can do that and it'll actually stop. And you can actually see in the API logs too, like where it's shutting down basically. But so you'll notice that this is highlighted red and now it says resume. And so now if you did want to resume it, you can totally do that. Let's just go ahead and I just want to show you real quick. So you could resume it, And again, this little tiny bug, sorry about that. You can resume it and it'll say, okay, and I'll resume it. And you can see in the API logs where it's starting again. So it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, pretty straightforward. I won't go too deep into it, but yeah, anyway. So that's basically how it all works. It's pretty straightforward from there. But yeah, that's my recap of how things are going so far. If you have any questions, let me know. I do have a Discord server for it, but it's pretty bare bones right now. I'm still working on all this stuff. If you're interested in learning more about it, please let me know. I'll keep you updated on how things are going. But otherwise, yeah, hope you guys have a good day. Thanks for watching. Okay, take care.